So you want to do a podcast? Do
Gosh.
you want to do a podcast? It doesn't have to be a podcast. Probably should, though. I mean, that's what we're here for. So, game on.
And the home of the brave. Game on!
Welcome to episode 75 of the Hit the Deck podcast, where we talk deck hockey, street hockey, ball hockey. It's hockey in sneakers. And for this 75th episode, I'm gyrating wildly. I don't know. I'm dancing to the music and I'm shaking my arms and punching the air for no apparent reason. I don't know. There's something wrong with me. Hopefully, there's something wrong with you too, and you are listening to this podcast, because I can't think of any other reason why you'd want to. But nevertheless, you are here. We are here. We being myself and my partner, James. James, how are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
You feeling all right? Oh, I don't know.
Again, I'm sorry.
I wasn't this amped up a few minutes ago. I don't know what happened. I didn't even have any Mountain Dew before this this broadcast. So anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted you. How are you?
No, that's okay. I'm okay, thank you. I just again, I want to apologize to everybody else out there that they don't get to see the American Rhino doing these great dance steps and stuff like that. So it just enhances the podcast so much and makes me laugh. So I think it would make everybody else laugh too, because it's so entertaining. So maybe the next time we get together, we could do a live podcast again. But it's a crime that nobody else can enjoy what I'm seeing. So I apologize for that. But how are you doing?
I think it would be a crime to subject them to what you're seeing personally, but your mileage may vary. I'm okay. Apparently I'm doing better than I thought. So, I guess I'm just excited. I'm like an athlete that, like a rookie that just got called up. I'm just happy to be here. It's you work hard, take it one day at a time. Up here you have to you listen to the veterans and just keep doing what got you here, and listen to the coaches, and just I'm just trying to do my part, just trying to contribute to the team. I don't know.
Great job.
By the way, and I just, spoiler, I have the Ranger game on in the background and it just went to commercial. I was just telling my wife about this off the air earlier. So am I allowed to be a Grinch before the Christmas season actually starts? Is that a thing? Because the day after Halloween, the Christmas commercials all started en masse. And, my gut reaction was, yay, Christmas is back. And then I remembered that I have a very strict personal stance of no Christmas until Thanksgiving. So I said, no, you cannot enjoy those Christmas commercials. And in fact, I'm a little grumpy that they're even on the air constantly bombarding me with Christmas. So does that make me a Grinch before the Christmas season even starts? It seems a little contradictory, but I wanted to get your opinion on this.
Well, we're going to have to take my opinion with a grain of salt, because
Okay.
I love Christmas very much. And I muddle through the year, like the song says, to get to Christmas every year. Especially the last 2 years have been really horrible. But anyway, I'll keep that to myself. So the good thing about being a Grinch is that he gets the love of Christmas, and it turns out great. So you're such a good guy, and we understand what you're talking about, because exactly, Thanksgiving is such an important holiday and deserves its own spotlight. But like what Charlie Brown was complaining about, 50 plus years ago, how commercialized Christmas has become. But for the bombardment of the political correct fools that like to giveth and taketh away, it's you get the green light to be the Grinch, because you're going to turn back into the 3 times big heart Grinch at the end. So that's fine.
You're a mean one, Mr. Mac.
Never.
I really am a heel. But yes, my heart will grow 3 sizes once Santa Claus comes at the end of the Thanksgiving Day parade. So I will be very happy then.
All right.
Happy boy. All right. But this podcast is not about Christmas. This podcast is about deck hockey, street hockey, ball hockey, and generally hockey in sneakers, or so I've heard.
Exactly. And I apologize before we get into the on deck for the first point. So sorry, sir.
No, that's quite all right.
It's no disrespect to you at all. It just happened.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay. It's a good. We're laying groundwork here. It's a good primer. We're easing into things, and that what precisely we're easing into will become clear to you, dear listener, momentarily. And so, as not to keep you in suspense for much longer, what say you, James? Shall we begin in earnest?
Okay, Coach.
All right. Yeah, good talk. So let's jump right into tonight's starting lineup. And for tonight's starting lineup for this 75th episode of Hit the Deck, in goal as ever, I am number 35, your American Rhino, Gary McComiskey, and of course, steadfastly
on defense, number 4, I'm James Sajazi.
Yes, sir, James. And we got a show for you, huh? I don't know. Honestly, honest to God, I don't know if this show is going to be a short show or a long show or what, because, the middle of it's going to be pretty open-ended. But I guess we'll find out shortly. And to find out what that will entail, James, would you be so kind as to please tell us what is on deck for this podcast?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Virtual goalie. It's not too early to get your Christmas list to Santa. American Rhino, this one's for you. HTD 75. In terms of milestone gifts, 25 is silver, 50 is gold, and 75 is diamond. Since we received no silver or gold for our 25th and 50th episodes of Hit the Deck, maybe someone out there will give us a diamond for HTD 75. And out in the cold, a diamond as in baseball diamond. Tickets have gone on sale for the 2018 NHL Winter Classic, and the prices are as insane as all of the other NHL outdoor games. And that's what's on deck.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome, sir.
Those prices are insane. I think Crazy Eddie was just a New York thing, but everybody has their local retailers and local stores that do silly commercials that they become known for. Here in New York, we had Crazy Eddie, and it was an electronics store that, like, I never went to the store, but it advertised itself as like a kind of a discount store because they didn't waste floor space on fancy displays and things and make it look all pretty and professional. The commercials portrayed it as just kind of a dirty open area with boxes and boxes of things stacked one on top of the other. So, and of course the Crazy Eddie, who was, the titular owner of the store, got on there and talked about how his prices were insane. And, as a child who watched too much television, I definitely, that's one of the things that stuck with me. So that's, sorry for the non sequitur there, but what are we talking about?
It's better that you explain it than not. But we're talking about virtual goalie. So you can actually, when we're not playing deck, you can practice and have fun in the meantime.
I'm going to give you a pass on the Christmas present thing, because even though we just talked about it being too early to think about Christmas or to celebrate Christmas anyway, I think buying Christmas gifts, I'm okay. It's a little early for me, but someone like my wife has probably already started shopping or even finished shopping for Christmas. So I think that's a little different. That's like, you're thinking of others and you're just laying the groundwork to make sure that you have what, you've taken care of the things you need to take care of. And, long story short, I'm going to give you a pass on that one.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and listen, speaking of which, you have to see A Christmas Story and what's the Turbo Man one with Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just you can't wait till the very end. And for those of us, speaking of growing up that lived through the first Tickle Me Elmo nonsense of 1996. So exactly, the earlier the better. So make sure you do not, when you're helping out Santa Claus, that is, do not disappoint your children.
Oh yeah, every year
there's nothing worse.
I remember the Tickle Me Elmo thing. I remember when the PS2 was the big toy that year, and my father came home one day. He's like, "Oh, I could get." I got a coworker. He's like, I could get one, but we didn't because we were never a PlayStation family at that point. So we didn't. But regardless, yeah, every year there seems to be the big get. And while I don't think this is necessarily going to be the big get for this year, it's definitely something that I'm interested in. So James, can you please tell us what exactly this fabulous thing is?
Yeah, sure. This is awesome. It's kind of a compilation of 3 different companies, and I think at least one of them is based in, of all places, Canada, of course. But this app, it's an application that is available in the United States, and you could go online and check it all out. It's a place called Steam, STEAM. And the game,
Sorry, James, I don't mean to interrupt, but Steam is a very popular game distribution platform for computers.
Oh, so, thank you, sir.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Steam, which it seems like you're not, it's basically a service that you can go on and you can download computer games from. You can buy and download computer games, and they have sales every so often on games, and you can. It's basically a very popular game distribution service for computer.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for bringing us to the 21st century. I'm still stuck back in the 20th, but
sure.
Anyway, I believe the game application is created from Hailstone Games, and I think they're the ones that are up in Canada. But the cool thing about this is that it's only $10 for the game itself. I don't know how much it is for the other fun applications to really delve into the beauty of this game. But before we get into that, the premise of it is that you have a virtual reality helmet, or at least something to cover your eyes, and you play as the goalie. So you could even customize the game where you can have a 5-on-0 or whatever else. And you have the accessories where you simulate the glove and the blocker and the stick.
Yeah.
And another thing I saw, but I couldn't see I couldn't find out where you could buy these things, but I'm sure people are obviously much more adept to the internet than I am, but they make these little mini goalie pads that you can strap on, so make you a little bit more realistic and play. And there are things called track straps, which you can put onto those pads, or at least if you don't have the pads, you can put them on both legs. I think they're $25 for both of them. And then that's how the system sees your 4 limbs working, and that's what makes it so realistic. And you even see through the cage of the mask itself from the perspective of a real goalie. And the other fun thing about this, too, is if you have your friends that have the app as well, is they can take shots on you with their cell phones. So from their cell phones, they could take shots on you as a goalie from realistic parts of the ice, like so from the point, from the slot, from wherever. And you could customize the game, as we said before, like you could do a 5-on-0 or a 1-on-1 or whatever the case is. And it just seems like a blast. And if anything, not only that it's a lot of fun, but maybe you can kind of keep yourself in shape and practice in a way that you couldn't otherwise.
James, I'd be interested to know where you found those trackers as 2 for $25, because I looked and the only price I could find was $100 for one of them.
Okay, I found I don't know if this is legitimate or not, but the website I found is called rebuffreality.com. And they have the track strap listed as $24.99 for both.
Okay, well, I'll look into that. Well, actually, I probably won't look into that, because this is this definitely is a pricey rig. So the game itself, as James said, is just $10, but unfortunately, you need a VR headset for this, and it's available on 2 platforms. It's available on the Oculus Rift, and it's available on the HTC Vive or Vive. I never know how to pronounce that. But let's go with Vive, just because. And the tracking things that you mentioned, the little tracking puck things, are required for a full body capture, let's say. So if you want to be able to go down and move your pads around accurately, then you would need these things. and those are only available for the Vive. So if you have the Oculus Rift, you're not going to be able to access that feature. And the Vive is like $600. So yeah, you're looking at a pretty, like $700 investment on this, basically, at
just
least.
Just like a real goalie, right?
Just like a real goalie, right? Yes. And James, I do want to correct one thing you said there, because I watched the demo video. The pads are not included in the setup. The pads that the guy strapped on in the video were just pads.
Right.
In fact, they were, and a goalie recognizes his own gear. They were the pads that I use. They were my pads, the CCM 100s. They blurred out the branding, but I know my pads.
But they looked a lot shorter. Did he cut off the top part that goes over your knee?
No, he may have just had a smaller model. Like they come in different sizes, so he may just have had a smaller, length of pad.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, like for kids, I guess maybe.
Maybe.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking at the picture now. Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so
pretty sneaky.
Yeah, but I mean, they're obviously not my pads, unless some guy from some Canadian guy snuck in here and borrowed them. But they are my model. So yeah, and this is definitely something that yeah, Santa. I don't think Santa's going to get them for me this year. But yeah, this is definitely a thing that I want. This, honest to goodness, this is something that I've been looking for years. Like a virtual reality goalie thing that I can use to actually train in the comfort of my own living room. Are you kidding? I would do this like for a while. I would do this regularly. This would be my jam if I had access to this thing. So, if anyone feels like starting a Kickstarter for Hit the Deck for the American Rhinos, Vive hockey fund, jump on that.
Sounds good. But yes, Hailstone Games is a developer based in Toronto.
And again, this thing is called Goalie VR. So
yes. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned that. So that's one of the most important parts about this topic, goalie VR.
That's
exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, James.
Sure. The other cool thing about this is that you can customize it to a right-handed or left-handed goalie, so you don't have to worry about that. You can customize plays and set up shooters in the offensive zone, and you can customize play time, how long you're playing for each period and things. You could do goal-driven matches to really feel like Henrik Lundqvist, where you're always facing shots at all times. And you can even earn achievements and things. You could study replays and something called heat maps, which is basically where, if you're watching a game, where most of the action takes place. Mm-hmm. And it's really very realistic. We looked at the graphics, and they look great for what they are. And it looks like the playability is pretty darn realistic, too. Mm-hmm. So it looks like a blast. And absolutely, any goalie out there, I hope Santa treats you well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, James.
Sure.
And I don't have a good segue here, but we've nope, I have no segue. So let's just move on.
Okay, well, that's fine because I really didn't set you up, just like when we play for real. But can you believe it? I mean, 75 podcasts, man, not including the scrimmages, but we've made it to 75 still. It's
yeah,
I'm surprised.
yeah, and they said it wouldn't last.
Yeah. Maybe you and I are the only two that care, and hopefully because they're so wonderful and generous, super fans Sue and Anthony, but that's about it.
No, we have, we have more listeners than tend to come out of the woodwork. I think Anthony and Sue get all the press because, we know them and, they give us kind of direct feedback on the podcast, but I've seen the numbers and we have a bunch of people who listen pretty regularly. So I don't know necessarily who you are, but I appreciate you very much. So we couldn't have gotten to 75 without you. So thank you so much. Please continue to listen. Please recommend the podcast to your friends. Spread the word. We all want to grow Hit the Deck together. And if we're going to talk, James and I, a little bit about not too much at length, but we're going to talk a little bit about some of the moments that we've enjoyed during the course of the podcast. But if there's something that you want to see on this podcast or here, I guess, if there's something that you would like us to start doing or do more of, or, even something you don't necessarily care for, we want to hear from you. We want to make this the best possible Hit the Deck podcast that we can. So please, we want your feedback, especially 75 episodes in. We want to know what you like, what you want more of. We want to make this your podcast. So please hit us up at hitthedeck@gmail.com. We're on Facebook at Hit the Deck, or tweet at us at Hit the Deck Pod, or whatever. We want to hear from you, please.
Amen to that. Thank you, American Rhino. And of course, let us know, because if you want to be a super fan, we'd be more than happy to make the roster bigger for that, because Sue and Anthony are great people, and Anthony's a fantastic deck player himself. So we'd maybe even do a little, meet and greet and play some deck hockey. So you never know. But thank you very much.
Yeah, two people does not a line make. So
no. But much appreciated. Exactly. And exactly, yeah, we got to 75. So that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, man. Agreed. So Go ahead,
sir.
Sorry. No, you go.
Okay.
You go, girl. That's not I'm not just. Please continue.
Okay. Yeah, we sound like we've been doing this for 75 podcasts, huh? Really
we are
smooth.
Seasoned veterans.
Oh boy. But as Gary was saying before, we listed our top 3 favorite episodes for episode 25 itself, and Gary did a fantastic compilation of the best moments from episodes 1 through 24, and then we discussed from there. Then to episode 50, we also gave a top 3. I'm
just gonna interrupt you to correct you, James. Technically, I included 1 through 25 because there was something that somebody, I think maybe Mike, something that somebody said that, or I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but something that we recorded for episode 25, I actually included in that montage in post-production. So
most impressive.
Sorry, carry on.
That's fine. And as you can see, we're brutally honest. So
I'm just hurting myself, patting myself on the back. So.
No, not at all. That's pretty impressive, man, because you're the guy that edits the podcast and makes it sound good. And especially with the last month or so with Skype going all goofy and whatnot and screwing with your levels and everything, just gives it a much harder and more challenging effort on your part. So we appreciate it very much, and thank you for your humbleness and your efforts
now, you
to
don't
make
have
this
to keep
podcast sound so good.
You honestly, stop, please, because it's boring for the listener. But
okay,
if anyone from Microsoft listens to this podcast, I hate Skype for Windows 10. I want my old Skype back.
And despite that, we still got to 75 podcasts.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we said our top 3 through episode 25 on episode 25. And then for episode 50, we expanded that. And just to recap, for me personally, HTD1, because it was the first one. Episode 14 with Skeletorial. We did Friday the 13th and Hockey in Disguise for the first time. Episode 16, we did our Memorial Day tribute, fiction hockey heroes, which I thought was great, sounded great. Episode 20, our fantasy draft, which Gary just did an amazing job drafting a fantasy deck hockey team, which was phenomenal. Episode 33, when we talked about our first Happy Hockey Halloween. And episode 43 for Champion Checkdown, which was fantastic and I thought so much fun and very clever. Anything that Gary gave himself a chance to actually do his thing and not hold back, I'm a big fan of. And I think it makes the podcast sound a lot more entertaining and a lot more fun. So the more American Rhino, the better.
You know, one thing that you didn't mention, James, and I don't even remember if we mentioned it in 50, but I do want to just kind of give it a little bit of love here. And it's kind of funny in light of how we opened this podcast. But Scrimmage 9, when we talked about our hockey Christmas playlists, that's I really enjoyed that. So, you know, I just wanted to, since Christmas will be here before you know it, if you didn't listen to Scrimmage 9 last year in December, go back and listen to that, because we had a lot of fun on that one, even if James did kill George Michael.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Anyway, and as a post note to that, Anthony Novello called me out for not mentioning Elvis the King with his Christmas music, but I apologize for that. So just keep that in mind when you do listen to Scrimmage 9. But I agree, that was a great one. That was a lot of fun. And probably what we're trying to do for this podcast, and why Gary asked for your feedback as well, is it's supposed to be lighthearted and fun, and especially when a topic like deck hockey, where there are a lot more people out there than maybe other folks realize that the deck hockey world is alive and well. But, sometimes it kind of gets a little dry, and we kind of hopefully try and keep it entertaining and fun. So that's one of the reasons there, and one of the fun things that we did. But we always try and tie it back to deck hockey, no matter what. So anyway,
that's the goal.
Just listen and you'll hear. Nice.
Yeah.
That deserves cheers, man. That's
no,
rough crowd.
Come on. Come on.
Okay, all right.
Come on. Yeah, all right. Anyway.
So when we missed a week recently, LIQ All-Star and friend of the podcast, Patrick, had a great suggestion on our Facebook page, and he asked what HTDs Gary and I would recommend for new listeners to check out before getting caught up to the recent podcasts. And personally, for me, that list I put together was much longer, and along with the episodes just mentioned included, but it also had HTDs 10, 25 itself, episode 25, 57, and 62. So besides those previous 6, we added 10, 25, 57, well, 25 twice, 57, and 62. But for my new list for episode 75, to do a top 3 from 50 through 74, I think episode 53 was a highlight, where we had Rachel Green of the Rose Charities come on and interview and tell us all about the Rose Charities and things, one of the events that Gary and I play in and had a lot of fun in. Katie Donnellin, a friend of my brother's and of mine, was so cool to invite me to her company, MetLife. Had some awesome experience with Adam Graves over in Skyrink in the city of Manhattan. We refer to the city as whatever. But anyway, that was a blast and a dream come true for me. And the only thing missing there was the American Rhino. Hopefully next year, if we get to be invited back by Katie, if they do it again, got to get the American Rhino out there too. And episode 57, when we interviewed Cherise Stewart and Amber Moore of the World Deck Hockey Team USA World Deck Hockey Team, the female team, that was a lot of fun. And in a serious note, on episode 62, unfortunately, our first loss in our young podcast, but Mr. George Kornienko passed away. He was only in his early 50s, I believe, way too young and unexpected and very sad. But he himself always hosted and put together a great deck hockey tournament for his bar in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and unfortunately he passed away. So we devoted that whole episode to Mr. Kornienko and his memory, and God rest him, and all the best to his family. But those were some of the episodes in full, I think, that really showcased what we can do on this podcast. And again, just following Gary's lead, whether he admits it or not, but he'll probably beat me up for that afterwards. But my favorite moments, not just from the whole podcast themselves, and I'm sorry, I'll get the mic back to the American Rhino in a minute, but Sesame Street Hockey. Sorry. No, your mic is on. I'm sorry. Anyway. Yeah, I'm just kind of bogarting the entire podcast. But best moments, Sesame Street Hockey from episode 69. Scrimmage number 10. Speaking of scrimmage, Gary's World Ball Hockey detailed report was fantastic and excellent and very entertaining. And when we interviewed LIQ All-Star Brett from episode 55. So from episode 50 through 74, those are my best moments and podcasts to add to the list.
About time you talking to James. I've been trying to break in for minutes now, and you're just hogging the mic, and I can't. All right, I'm kidding. No, thank you for that. I just to go back for a minute, I of course did not contribute any suggestions to Patrick for possible episodes to listen to, because I am an inconsiderate jerk. But I do have a number of suggestions for favorite moments, just a handful and episodes from our last 25, and they are as follows. I do want to just echo what James said about the episode where we interviewed the girls, Cherie, or the women, Cherie and Amber from the Team USA. We were punching way above our weight class in that episode, and it was a real pleasure to have them on. It was an honor to have them on, and can't thank them and their public relations person, Jackie Spiegel, for having them on, and that was an incredible thing. So thank you for that. And as far as the other episodes that I personally thought were great, I enjoyed episode 64, where we talked about the Beatles and soap hockey And we brought back the road trip segment, which was nice. That was a lot of fun. The 60s, one of my favorite decades, and apparently one of my favorite stretches of podcasts too. I really enjoyed episode 66, which was our live episode that we did on Facebook, our Facebook live stream, which, you know, I don't know. I know James doesn't like to be seen. He prefers to, I was going to say he prefers to be heard and not seen, but I don't think he prefers to be heard that much either. But I enjoyed that. I thought that was a lot of fun doing it live without a net, and, you know, just the couple of us messing around like we always do, but with the added bonus of you being able to see us. That was fun. And I enjoyed episode 68, which was the episode where we talked, we talked about a bunch of things, but we tied in a lot of random Star Trek references in that podcast. And I love Star Trek. So even though it's silly, I enjoyed that one.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because in a future podcast, we really go deep into Deep Space Nine stuff. So just do your homework and be prepared for that.
Yeah. Do your research before you listen to this podcast. Come on. Be professional like James.
Then we're in trouble. But yeah, so if you enjoyed that as much as we did, and hopefully you did, and we appreciate it, and Excelsior, to steal from Stan Lee, but we appreciate it. Thank you so much for getting us this far, and hopefully we can get a lot farther in the future. And if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, as Gary always says, there's many ways to contact us, and we'd be more than happy and honored to have you on, and or at least get your feedback too. So thank you so much for everybody out there for the support.
Yeah, and if you have a favorite moment, I mean, we're really kind of reaching here into, you know, pat us on the back, tell us how great we are. But if you have a favorite moment or a favorite thing that we haven't mentioned that we talked about, throw it up on Facebook and start a conversation. We'd love to hear about it, or, you know, Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
That would be cool.
Right. And one of the reasons why the American Rhino did this podcast is not to keep it between just he and I, and God bless him for having the patience to deal with my nonsense, but we want the entire deck hockey community out there, and not just in New York, not just in America, but in Canada and in Europe and anywhere else. You can understand us, hopefully, if, English-speaking people out there, and maybe if you could translate it too, that'd be even more impressive. But we want the entire world of deck hockey to get together, and that's one of the main goals of to take that pun, is for Gary creating this podcast is for that reason. So to get the deck hockey experience and the family all in one encompassing area where you can talk about your leagues and whatever, and your experiences playing deck hockey and why it's so great and so much fun and whatnot. And another reason why Gary expanded into the YouTube stuff with doing play-by-play of deck hockey games, to give you an idea of how much fun it is and to see the talent that is out there in the leagues. Just, this is us in Manhattan and Long Island, and that's just, you know, scratching the surface of the popularity of deck hockey.
We are the world. We love ball hockey. We are the ones who want to play this sport and spread it around. Sorry. You're testing me, James. You're pushing. You're pushing. You're deliberately testing me.
I'm sorry, and but just thank you for not doing the Cyndi Lauper well parts.
I don't actually know that part.
She just, I love Cyndi Lauper. I mean, she's for what she's done for the world of wrestling, WWE, as you have to call it now.
The Rock and Wrestling Connection.
There you go, and WrestleMania 1. She was so pivotal in that, and a Queens girl and a Met fan. So I love Cyndi Lauper and wish her all the best success on in the Great White Way too, as she's doing very well with her plays and musicals and things like that. But anyway, yeah, when she breaks into We Are the World, she goes like, well. I can't sing, so I'm not going to bother doing that. anyway.
Please just stop giving me sole credit for everything.
Well, because you refuse to take any credit at all. So there would be no podcast. I want everybody to know that without the American Rhino.
And without
he's the
James.
only. You record it. It's your equipment that you record the stuff
all right,
on.
Enough.
It's a lot of work, and I don't want anybody to take it for granted out there. Just like when he's in goal, he's always playing his heart out.
They don't care. Just move
all right,
on.
well, fine. But, like James Brown, when he was alive, he was the hardest working man in show business. He was humble about it.
Yes, and he wouldn't stop telling people about it.
Oh, well, all right. Anyway, okay. So it's not smart to anger a rhino.
I still don't know what noise they make. I have to figure that out.
Usually because people that are around them are in such terror if they see them coming towards them that they don't know what kind of noise that they make besides the rumbling of a X amount of ton tank coming after you with a 5-foot horn. So that's why.
Okay. Well, what's our last segment, James?
Out in the cold. It's about the 2018 NHL Winter Classic.
Ah, yes. The Winter Classic coming to our stomping grounds of Citi Field.
Yeah, which I'm really excited about, which is great. It's about time that they're in a real stadium, at least in New York. It's really cool that they've gone to Fenway Park and Wrigley and a couple of football fields and things like that. So to get them at a real Major League Baseball park in New York is very exciting and something that we should be very proud of and looking forward to.
That is exciting, and I am looking forward to it. I would be looking forward more if I had secured tickets to the event, but unfortunately, they are a little bit out of my price range.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately for both of us, and Lord knows how many other fans out there, but and we talked about this a few Hit the Decks ago too. It's the Rangers versus the Buffalo Sabres and not the New York Islanders. I thought that the Islanders would have been a perfect fit to play at Citi Field, especially the fact that the Islanders and the Mets have the same orange and blue colors and things like that, and they're out in Long Island, and eventually the Islanders are going to go to Belmont, or at least in that area, because we really dropped the puck in a bad way here in Brooklyn, that we can't keep any professional teams out here, or at least major teams, God bless the Cyclones and stuff like that. But anyway.
I'm going to give you a pass on this one, James. And by you, I mean Brooklyn, not you specifically, because you have nothing to do with it. But Barclays never really wanted the Islanders. They took them reluctantly. They never properly configured the arena for hockey. It seems like they were hoping to make a quick buck. And when they didn't make a quick buck, they decided to cut their losses. So that's not on Brooklyn.
All right, well, you're very kind. Yeah, it's probably the Dolans that are behind that, the owners of MSG and so on and so forth. But that's a whole other political nonsense to worry about on some other podcast. But the tickets for the 2018 NHL Winter Classic, from what I saw, seemed to be a lot more reasonable than tickets in the past. But they ranged from $149 for the upper deck nosebleed sections to $449 a ticket. And again, that's if you would have gone through Ticketmaster itself. And I hate Ticketmaster. They are as evil gets. Mm-hmm. And even Darth Vader would say, hey, maybe you're going a little bit too far there. That's how bad Ticketmaster is. And that's not including all of their ridiculous fees that they tap onto everything.
Yeah, you're looking at like $20 or $30 in additional fees just on top of your ticket price.
Exactly. For no reason whatsoever either, by the way. But so that's the going rate, which that's insane. That's I mean, you talk about if you go to a regular Islander or Ranger game or Devil game in the tri-state area over here, and I'm sure it's even more reasonable around the other parts of the country. But if you go for a cheap seat in Madison Square Garden, you're looking at $35-$40 a ticket, and you could probably go to the Garden itself and buy a ticket and save some funds that way. But going through Ticketmaster for something like this, you really have no choice. And the other problem with that is we're living in the 21st century of cell phones and iPads and whatever, is that scalpers are able to jump on these tickets for the face value, or at least close to face value, and then they put them all up on other areas where you have to go and buy the tickets, and they jacked up the price even more that way. And hopefully you get a legitimate ticket too, by the way. That's not guaranteed that you get a legitimate ticket for the prices and things, and with concerts and whatever. So it's just be careful out there. If you're lucky enough to score a ticket for the 2018 NHL Winter Classic, God bless, and just I admire your income.
Well, James, that's why if you want to buy a ticket from somebody, you have to go through an authorized reseller like StubHub or Ticketmaster itself, which, for a small additional fee, they will guarantee that your tickets, your super inflated tickets are legit.
Unbelievable. But it's amazing, though. It is a hit, even though if it's in the dead of winter, no matter where it is, Chicago, Boston, New York, Buffalo itself, the first game, the NHL Winter Classic, the first one held was up in Buffalo in 2008. And despite the bitter cold, those games, they set attendance records. It's amazing. And when this is in the United States, and obviously, you're going to do it in Canada.
Yeah.
I think no problem. But for the U.S., that's pretty impressive.
Well, it's spectacle, it's and it's a big event. So you got to figure both fan bases, unless it's, really, really, really difficult for one team's fans to get there. Both fan bases, you got to figure, are going to try and come. So I'm not surprised it sells out. And as far as the cold goes, James, you and I have both frozen at Citi Field already, so that's not a deal breaker for me.
Good point. Yeah, exactly. So, and that was just in October. I mean, I don't know what it's like in January.
Hey, in April, it's pretty cold.
That's true, too. You got a great point there. Absolutely. Spoken like a true diehard Met fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, bring your blankets and your thermal underwear because you're going to need them. But I mean, Citi Field only holds about 35 to 40,000 people tops.
No, I think it's like 43,000 or 42,000 or something like that. It's Shea was, I think, 53,000.
55, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. They added, yeah. So
right.
And yeah, so I think Citi Field is somewhere around like 40, 43 or thereabouts.
And I'm sure it's sold out too. So good luck. But yeah, man, but something to look forward to. And I'm looking forward to watching the game, at least hopefully in the comfort of our own homes. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, there are worse ways to spend New Year's.
Exactly right.
Last minute remaining in the podcast.
Thank you, Pops. All right. So this has been episode 75 of the Hit the Deck podcast. Thank you, Pops, for lending your vocal stylings to the cast for 75 episodes. Thank you, our dear listener, for listening to us, whether this is your first episode or whether you've listened to all, 75 episodes and all 10 scrimmages. We want to thank you for being a part of this podcast and for making it what it is. And thank you to the LIQ for sound effects. Thank you to Anthony Sajazi for music used in the podcast. And thank you really to everyone who has contributed to this podcast over 75 episodes. All the guests we've had, all the people who've, just tweeted at us, who've engaged us on Twitter, whether it's something we've talked about on the podcast or just regardless. Thank you, of course, to super fans Sue and Anthony for being kind of our mascots, if you will, and leading the charge on social media on kind of spreading the word. Thank you to everyone who's made this podcast what it is. I've enough. If you haven't already done so, we're 75 episodes in. What are you waiting for? But please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or, Stitcher or, whatever platform you prefer to get your podcast from. And if we're not on that platform for whatever reason, drop us a line and let us know at hitthedeck@gmail.com or tweet at us at hitthedeckpod or hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, what have you at Hit the Deck. And YouTube, we love our YouTube channel. As I mentioned last week, we're taking a little bit of a hiatus from new content on YouTube, aside from the weekly podcasts, for a little while. But before you know it, we are going to be back up there and, pumping out video content like it's our job. So if you want to know when we get back to doing that, subscribe. That's the only way you're going to know right away. Hey, Hit the Deck's back, baby. So go ahead and subscribe to us on there. We would really, really appreciate it. And if you are so inclined, if you like the podcast, or even if you think we could do better, please rate us in iTunes. We'd appreciate that too. James, is there anything that I have neglected to say or anything that you would care to add?
No, you said it all, my friend. Thank you so much. And thank you for your great diligence and contributions to this podcast. And again, thank you all for listening and supporting us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Well, so to close out this 75th episode, which again, it's kind of it's just a number. Age is just a number, as is longevity, apparently. So, 75, when we're at 750, then I'll be impressed. 75, it's a good start. But whether you are reminiscing about your favorite episodes of Hit the Deck, whether you are sitting in the comfort of your own home playing goalie for a day or a year or a lifetime, whether you are at Citi Field watching hockey, or whether you are shut out and, again, forced to play goalie in the comfort of your own living room because you can't get tickets. Regardless, I would urge you strongly to remember it's deck hockey. Don't be that guy. Thanks, everybody.
Startling fact, once I could get that word out.
That's okay.
A startling fact, thank you.